Hello students, today we're going to go through our next lab. So here I'm on the home page. Remember to always read the announcements. And we're wrapping up Unit 4. Our quiz is due on Monday midnight. So whenever I'm emailing you or something and we're talking about the links of the course, they're mostly here. So modules is an important one and pages that we're going to look at today. So here we are in the modules, excuse me. And I always push these down to the bottom when the module is over. Let's look at the Unit 5 lab, linked here, and also linked here. Okay, so we have finally made it to the world of the mystical field trip. So I reflected on the results of the first survey, and I decided to write another lab so that folks would have a choice. So choice 1 is to attend a water sampling field trip and write a reflection essay, and choice 2 is to build a vermicomposting system, aka a worm bin, and write a lab report about it. I know in the Unit 4 lab I gave you an opportunity to collect extra credit, and you can apply that to any lab in the course. So remember, the lab resources page is an important one of these pages over here. And right here, we're going to click right to the Unit 5 lab. So in the Unit 5 lab, we're looking at soil, water, air, rocks. We have looked at water already to some extent, so we're circling back, but the real focus here is going to be water and soil. So in Unit 5, you have two choices. You can attend a field trip, or you can build a worm bin. Okay? Now, because we have already covered the learning outcomes involved with water, I really wanted everyone to read the composting readings and think about compost as a soil resource to meet our soil learning outcomes. So even if you attend the field trip, which has nothing to do with building compost bins or any such thing, I still want you to reflect on these questions. What is compost? How can it be used? How does compost break down? Why is heat important to curing microbial finish composting? And how do you know when the compost is cured? What is vermicomposting? Is heat important to vermicomposting? What are the environmental management applications of composting? Think about the pollution issues we have already been learning about. So as I mentioned, we already addressed the learning outcomes, asked questions about that. And in the final module, at the end of the semester, we'll really aggregate all of these things together. So, as always, student responses section. So here are these mandatory readings. So even if you come on the field trip, I'd still like for you to interact with these readings. Oops, looks like I have that one in there twice. This is a manual developed for an audience who might be using composting in larger agricultural and industrial applications. And here is another article tailored more to a home user and or a small classroom setting. Okay. Now you're going to do one of two things. You're going to show up, and I'll give you time during the field trip to write this reflection essay, or you're going to build a bin at home and write a lab report about it. Both should be, either the reflection essay or the lab report should be submitted to the lab Dropbox. So many of you expressed an interest in conducting water sampling outside after you tested your residential water. You are in luck. So all I was given about this course when I was asked to teach it was a box of supplies to go on a water sampling field trip. So we have that. I asked you earlier in the semester where you all lived. 50% of you live in Eagle County, and or somewhere near Vail. And then another sizable chunk, 28%, live in Breckenridge. And then the rest of us are scattered about. So we're going to have 3 sampling events, 2 in Breckenridge and 1 in Eagle. If you please interact with this survey. 2 questions. What's your name and cell phone number? So I have your number day of. And then you can RSVP for one of these events. Essentially, we are going to meet up. We're going to get to the edge of the river. We're going to have some conversations along the way, really put on our observation caps so we can assess the ecology of the riparian ecosystem. This is aligned with my academic research, so I'll be a good resource standing there by the river. Please bring blankets or a chair. We won't walk very far, but we do want to be comfortable enough to sit and reflect and discuss, etc. And then we will go through the water sampling protocols using the equipment that I have, which I will describe. We will do this in 3 different places, or in the same place in Breck twice, and once in Vail, Edwards area. Okay, let's go back to here. So the idea here, when we're looking at the river, is that we'll have the opportunity to look at either the same river in 2 sampling events, one in March and one in April, or we will be able to compare the Eagle River to the Blue River. So even though we're not writing anything up, we really are still going to do a lot of analysis when thinking. And since one field trip doesn't occur for several more weeks, of course, if you choose to go to the latter field trip, your deadline for the lab will be extended. Okay, now going on to the vermicomposting system. You are going to need to order worms. Do this right away. Or go to a store and buy some fishing bait. Fishing bait is probably easier to get right now than gardening worms in the mountains. I did call around and try to find out what stores were open and which ones weren't in the mountain communities. Or if it's easier for you, just place the order online. $5.99, $6.99 seems like the going price to order worms. Maybe you already have a worm bin and you could, or you know someone who does, you get a handful of worms from them. Now, you could order the worms in bulk. So like since half of you live in Eagle, if you got yourselves together, it would be cheaper for you to do this together and then share the worms. But this is going to be a lot of worms, more worms than you really need. So those are just some different choices. Okay, find a container, read the composting readings. Rather than prepare a slideshow for this lab, I made videos. You're going to build your system, take pictures, don't forget to take pictures, and write a lab report. And then just copy this part into a Word document, fill it out, and submit it to the lab Dropbox. So going up to modules, the Dropboxes are in 2 different places, which assuredly you know already, in this labs module or in the specific unit module. I look forward to working with you. Please let me know if you have any questions. In a final summary comment, you do not have to go on the field trip. If you do, you'll have less work to do outside of class, so to speak. If you decide to build the worm bin, then write a lab report. That would be great. If you're coming on the field trip, by all means RSVP. It would be so sad if I came all the way there and no one showed up. So make sure you're communicating with me, which I know you are great at doing. And yeah, have a great day.